Hey listeners, thank you so much for listening to HRN. We want to make your experience as a listener even better, and to help us do that, we'd love your input on our audience survey. It'll only take a few minutes, and by completing it, you can enter to win a $250 gift card from Goldbelly. Visit heritageradionetwork.org/survey to take the survey and to help us keep growing and improving. That's heritageradionetwork.org/survey. Thanks for your support.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hey, road trippers, because so many of you asked us to do it, and because the packaged group paid us, we've launched a new podcast, Agave Road Show. Podcast that profiles different brands of agave spirits, and maybe other Mexican spirits, and possibly Romanian beer or flaming hot Cheetos. Really, whatever we get paid to profile. The first episode drops Friday, October 11th, and features G4 Tequila and the magnificent mad scientist Felipe Camarena. Get Agave Road Show wherever you access your favorite podcast, or find it on agaveroadtrip.com. Want to taste a flight of rare agave spirits at Rick Bayless's award-winning Bar Sotano, or on La Barca Cantina, the storied taco boat touring New York's Hudson River? Or do you want to drink a special lager from the Maine Beer Company? Or how about coffee? Want to start your morning with a Mexican roast from the genius crew at Dark Matter? Well, you can do all those things and support Sacred in the process. Sacred is a not-for-profit that helps improve quality of life in the rural Mexican communities that make heritage agave spirits. We ask Mezcalerixes what problems they have, what solutions they imagine to resolve those problems, and what resources they need to enact those solutions. Then, we go out and try to find those resources for them. All of those businesses I just mentioned, Bar Sotano, La Barca Cantina, Maine Beer Company, and Dark Matter Coffee, all of them have special offerings on right now that support Sacred. To learn more about these supportive, creative ventures, visit sacredagave.org/fun. That's sacredagave.org/fun, because real fun is also doing real good.
Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip.
I'm Lou Bang.
And I'm Linda Sullivan.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast. It's been a while. The critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits.
Rural.
And Mexico.
We got to change it up.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, so, people in the tequila chat groups that I like to hang out in when I'm not in the mobile studio with you, Linda, they've been getting pretty outraged.
Ooh.
Yeah, by things like, diffusers and additives. And the basis for their outrage tends to be that these things aren't, well, they would say authentic. I'm going to say traditional, so we don't spend the entire episode trying to define authentic. Is that fair?
That's fair. I can get down with that.
Okay. So I think it's that they aren't traditional.
Yes.
But if it's tradition that they're looking for, why aren't they drinking mezcal? Isn't mezcal more traditional than tequila? And what exactly do I mean by tradition?
Tell us.
Well, I guess what I'm suggesting is when somebody's saying, a diffuser, like that's not authentic, and I hear that's not traditional, like I'm hearing, well, that's not how they've always done it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right. I agree. I would think when I think tradition, all of our Gringex bartenders, think in your mind, what comes to mind when you think traditional? The first thing that comes to my mind is pattern and repetition.
Pattern and repetition, tell me.
Think of like other instances in which we use tradition, a good example, like Christmas
Jewish wedding.
celebrations. Yeah,
Oh.
a Jewish wedding.
A Jewish wedding and
It's
Christmas.
Right. Things that we do repeatedly over a long stretch of time. Maybe it's annually, right?
Yeah.
Or my mom had this tradition and I'm going to carry it on, pass it to my kids. Her grandmother passed it to her, right? Tradition to me says repetition over multiple generations.
So, okay, did you have a plastic Christmas tree?
Did I when I was a kid?
Yeah.
No, always real.
And now do you have a plastic Christmas
How
tree?
did you know that?
I didn't. I'm just like, hey, I was raised Jewish and I gave it up for Lent. This is just me spitballing.
Oh, that's a great joke. How have I not heard you say that before?
I've said it a few times.
Yeah, Lord knows all of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I do have a fake one now because one of the things that I saw I don't know if this is because, but I will say, and also as a kid, I watched my dad get his hands all sappy and swear when he was putting it up, and then get needles everywhere and swear some more when he was taking it down.
So tradition is hard.
Tradition can be hard in that
Doesn't
example.
have to be, right.
I don't think it has to be.
So do you feel like your non-traditional Christmas tree is a bad thing? Clearly not, or you wouldn't have
I do
it.
not. Right. So to me, in that tradition, and I'll go a really specific example for me because I do have one that I love for Christmas. To me, the value is not the nature of the tree. That's sort of a logistical detail. But the tradition I think is beautiful and that I would pull from my family, one of, is that we used to get little ornaments every year that were, related to something that was relevant in that year for us.
So like if you got your tonsils removed, you would have like
A tonsil ornament.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Or, as a slightly different example, when you got your license at 16, my little ornament was a bear holding up his driver's license in a tiny little car. And it was like,
I would have thought it was a bear holding up a speeding ticket for you.
well, one and the same.
Smokey gotcha.
I was immediately, both of those were true. But, they would have Linda, 2001 or something. And I have those still. And that's a tradition. And I enjoy hanging those up on the tree, remembering those times, thinking, positively for me about my folks. My mom and dad are still with me, so I'll even tell them, oh, I hung my ornaments today. Oh, how nice, blah, blah, blah. That is a tradition that makes me feel connected to things that my parents did and or their parents and however far back. So even when I'm thinking of tradition in the agave world, I'm transferring that kind of definition that if you've got maybe a multi-generational family making agave, what my dad or my grandpa or my great-grandma used, that would feel like tradition to me, is how I'm imagining if I put myself in their shoes.
But then to go back to the idea of tequila and tradition, right? These people in these Facebook groups, these Tequila 101 groups and stuff, and all things tequila, these people complaining that it's not authentic, it's not traditional. Like, what's the tradition to them? Are they saying it's not something? Yeah,
you the same thing. Like what?
Because for me, like tequila, I like ripping shots of Cuervo would be traditional tequila to me. When I think about when I started, like that was my introduction to tequila.
Right.
So in essence, I'm trying to float into somebody else's tradition pattern. I want to be a part of something that I've never been a part of.
Right. Well, the thing that is tricky to me too, as far as mindset, is that if you have a group of gringex folks, we can't, right? Because I'm a gringa también. We can't apply our own idea of tradition to an area that is not traditional for us, right? I didn't grow up making tequila.
And yet we have. Linda, you just walked right into the quote. Roy, would you please start up the quote from Rufina Ruiz Lopez?
Haciendo copitas llevamos muchísimos años.
We have been making copitas for many years. We used to make them in the shape of a vitrolero, a glass barrel but made out of clay, but with a handle, always thinking about not abandoning the handles because it was the way to hold it. grabbing it by the handle and drink. It's as if you were making a tiny clay barrel. And those were the mezcaleros. Then we started to make the caballitos, which are the shot glasses but in clay. And from there we moved on to the coupe. They were like conical with a long stem and a round base, just like the coupe where they serve margaritas. We made that same shape in clay.
And
about the jicaritas specifically, I took up other ideas, following the apprenticeship at the San Agustin Arts Center, CASA by its Spanish acronym. I joined CASA in 2008, taking sculpture workshops, different diploma courses in art history, in social economy, circular economy, alternative economy, a lot of learning within the Arts Center. And I took the diploma in object design in a collaboration between CASA and UNAM in 2015. That is where I opened a range of opportunities of how to honor our traditions. And the jicaritas is that. It's a way of honoring the tradition of the customs that exist in my town. During the patron saint festivities, baptisms, Day of the Dead, funerals, the atole and the tejate are carried in jicaras. And that is how the idea of the jicaritas was born, honoring the traditions and customs of my people.
Wow. That's a great, first, that's a really cool history of the shape of the drinking vessel. I hadn't heard someone talk about that before.
Right?
Yeah.
So interesting. And, we talk about here in Gringexlandia, we talk about the jicara as the traditional way to drink mezcal. And it's not. It's basically us making up this tradition that didn't exist.
Right. Well, neither is it the jicara, neither is it the copita that we're familiar with. That's clay, glazed or unglazed. Neither.
As you're pointing to the one on the dashboard of the mobile studio.
Neither is it like the veladora,
right,
which I often talk. I mean, I have said those things.
Yeah.
I have said, oh, this is a traditional vessel.
Yeah.
And right now,
actually, the
fire,
veladora is a traditional vessel for candles at the church.
Oh, right. It's being repurposed in non-tradition as a drinking vessel. Now, those things are, when I have visited, all of those things have shown up. The jicara, the copita of various glazing clay styles, the veladora at different tabernas, fábricas, palenques. I have seen all of those. So it's not untrue that they are used, but I also think it's our responsibility, if you're going to go throwing around a word that you maybe don't have a tight definition for, tradition, right? That requires research and asking questions and, on our part.
Well, sort of, but I'd actually, like, you're saying you've seen copitas at palenques, venatas, fábricas, tabernas, and I honestly don't recall seeing them. Like, I see them because I bring them. I don't recall. I see
Maybe
a lot of...
that's why I see them.
I see
I'm out in the agave field and you're planting copitas all around the palenque.
That could very well be. But I honestly don't even see them today that frequently. I see more jicaras, but, otherwise it's just whatever they've got, that they feel like a glass. But I will say that if you are seeing them, clearly it's because we started...
There's a backwards influence is where you're going.
And in essence, by us saying, well, the tradition is this, and then we're rewriting the tradition...
Eek. I'm doing that emoji face where he shows all his teeth and it's like a rectangle.
Yeah. So that comes to mind. And then this other thing, I'm not going to run the quote because it's a long quote and I ran it in a previous episode, but I'll just point people to the episode. Future Lou will do it. I'm not sure which episode number or even the exact title, but I got this great quote from Lalo where Lalo actually created the idea of eating orange slices with sal de gusano while you drink mezcal.
No.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yes, and it was picked up by the head of tourism for the Mexican government, who shared it out to all of the bars and restaurants in Oaxaca, saying, I think this was like in the late 90s, but it's, we get into detail in it in the episodes, telling them, hey, you should do this. This will help improve tourism. And yet we hear like, this is the traditional way, is with this. But Lalo just did it because he had to get around the laws in San Bartolo Cayotepec in his tasting room where you have to serve food if you're serving booze.
Ah.
Yeah. That was the episode titled How to Pair Mezcal with Food, Season 4, Episode 36.
Interesting. That also, this is still tradition related, I think, but this is also kind of like the joke. Our friend Malena will say sometimes, "Oh, this is the one we make for you all." And she means you all in the United States.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of narrative, or at least there at their fabrica, but other places as well, they drink their mezcal at a lower proof.
Like
and
28% or 29% ABV.
And they often, that's what we often have heard called vino de mezcal.
Yeah.
And
Vino mezcal.
in the United States, you can't come in here unless you're 40. That's our bottom.
Well, you can. You just can't call it mezcal.
Yes.
Yeah. But, to your point, they're now making, I don't know, what is Villasuso and Lucy Pistolas, what is that, 30, or not 38%, it's 40% or 40?
The first bottles are 40, but the new one the new Lucy that just landed is 43.2 or something like that.
Right, and that's because of us.
Right, it's
literally
a response.
Right, it's not traditional, so I won't drink it.
Yeah, see, that's funny when you put it in that sort of comic way, because it to me it immediately becomes almost laughable. It's like, oh, well, that's silly. That's obviously silly.
Well, it is. So as we sit, and we have this standard that's a fake standard, but B, only applied to this one thing. I don't hear any of these people saying, I will not eat these tortilla chips because they are not authentic. I won't drive this car because it's not a Ford, I don't know, Model T. How
about Fred Flintstone car?
Fred Flintstone car, exactly that.
Yeah.
We won't eat this chocolate bar, this Hershey's chocolate bar, because it's not traditional. It's not traditional chocolate.
Like why?
Authentic chocolate. Speaking of which, we should eat this.
Oh, good idea.
I brought this specifically so I could remember to congratulate our friends at Dark Matter.
Oh my gosh, yes, they're awards.
Yeah, they just swept the U.S. and Canada chocolate awards. Swept them. They won. It's lost. They won the first, they have the two highest scoring chocolates in the U.S. and Canada.
They are doing such great work. I love the team at Dark Matter. Great job, y'all. Congratulations, all Gringex bartenders. Raise your glass to Dark Matter right now. I really like learning about what they're doing all the time.
So we'll eat the chocolate bar once I get it out of the
And also, this is for all our Gringex listeners, this is dashboard chocolate. That just means it is chocolate living on the dashboard in the mobile studio. Don't worry, we're in the shade. It has not melted.
There you go. But to me, it's weird that these people are all obsessed with the authenticity of one thing, and it's not even authentic.
So
there is no tequila that's made in what would be truly a traditional manner.
I think to before we
Except
started
maybe
recording,
the one from Costcoine, that one expression that David Suro made them make.
Yep.
God bless them both.
But I get the point that you're making, right?
Why aren't you eating this chocolate? It's good chocolate. It's very authentic.
It's really authentic. Oh, geez. I always want to see the best in people and think, I don't know, that we're doing the best we can with what we have, right? Mm-hmm. I think that some of the folks in these groups that you're talking about, and I'm not, disclosure, I'm not in any of these groups. This is not my jam. I don't like comment zones and just like internet free-for-alls. It makes me crazy. But I think that people that get into sort of like try to approach the nerdy levels of agave spirits, and there's maybe different nerds for tequila and mezcal, but there's overlap, right? My favorite Venn diagram. I think that there's like a desire to, what would the word be, like kind of own the space, not take it away from the Mexicans, but they feel like they've learned a little bit. You know, like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think some of these people, especially because the one name you said was Tequila 101 or something, right? So that's beginning. 101 is a beginning level. I think a lot of these folks, they genuinely do get excited about what they've learned. And maybe think if you go on one trip, maybe a tequila distillery brings you down, or you go on, the Cuervo train or something, you learn something and you get excited about the thing that you learn. And I think that can narrow our scope, and we get, blinders on of like, I saw something and I was told this is traditional for our family or our town or our, tours even. And then you kind of want to defend it. And but perhaps if you visited more or learned more or talked to more people, or maybe you don't speak Spanish, and so there are things that you missed on a certain, maybe that would change how American you come off with your opinion. I think that arrogant opinion that has a lot of hate to it and overconfidence based on experience, I think that to me feels American. It feels strong army. It doesn't feel soft and open postured and curious. It doesn't seem like a mindset that's going to go in and ask questions. I noticed you're drinking out of copitas. Can you tell me more about that? Oh, well, we used to just drink out of these little plastic thingies, but then when we started doing tours, we thought we should, it's like, oh, whoa. Well, that gives me some information. Maybe it's not traditional. And that's hypothetical, right? I'm just kind of thinking through where some of these attitudes are coming from. And for me, I am in this world, and you and I have talked about this many times, and a lot of our listeners have engaged in these conversations.
We have a lot of listeners?
We have tons, like 14 listeners, okay? Thank you to all 14 of you. Being a white person, or a foreign person, right? That's what this idea of gringex really means, being a person from outside. I think you need to go in with a mindfulness. And I hesitate with folks who are foreign like me, who are up there with their stake in a hill and ready to die on it. I didn't grow up in those traditions. I want to ask about them and inquire, not hate on other gringex folks for not doing a thing I saw in Mexico once.
And certainly not hating on Mexican folks for doing things that reflect their traditions.
Right. So that's the thing that you're saying, like with these, hating on the diffuser. Why are you doing that? I saw a place recently where a community built their own autoclave.
Right.
On the property. We're in the middle of nowhere. and they built out of, you can see that it is not a big machine that was delivered on a flatbed. Flatbed wouldn't even get out there on those roads. Like it's soldered together and welded, and that's what they used to cook. And are you going to come in here and tell them that stop using that because I learned some things about that tool that I didn't like, and somebody else disparaged that tool. So now without any more than one experience, I'm going to disparage it too.
Right.
You can't. I do not think.
You can and do.
I do not think you can have that posture.
You should not.
You should not. Right? People do, so of course they can.
Right.
This is like, you're doing to me like, can I go to the bathroom, Miss Pfefferman? And you're like, I don't know, can you?
Your last name is Pfefferman?
No, I had a counselor in grade school. That was Miss Pfefferman. She was great. She taught me to peel an orange when I didn't know what kind of feelings I was having.
Sweet.
Oh, she
like
was
that.
sweet. She was.
But, but I think the difference here, and this to me is sort of the fulcrum of the conversation, is the can and should, because you can do it and you probably should not if you want to truly have a beautiful experience, because the more, to your point, the more I go in accepting that there are going to be things that I think I know and I will find out that I am wrong.
Right.
Those moments get more and more exciting for me. Yep. As they occur more and more often.
100%. Can you think all of our community, can you think about a time when you saw something used, or done in a way for the very first time. I mean, that's a cool experience to say. So like
French kissing.
Oh my gosh, what a cool experience that is. Amen. I can't remember my first French kiss. Can you?
You remember your first French kiss?
You weirdo. Yours.
Yeah, I can.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It didn't happen until I was 35, so.
Stop it.
Anyway. But I think to me that's sort of the point of the episode. So I think unless
We're going to wrap on French kissing?
I think we're going to wrap on French kissing.
Okay, get out there and 5-star your podcast if you like podcasts that end in French kissing.
Wait, and before we go, actually, now that you're tasting the authentic chocolate made by Sleepwalk Dark Matter,
I would award it all the awards.
right?
I love the cacao flavor. I mean, it's just, there's so much acid in it. It's making my mouth water, but it's also rich and buttery. It's beautiful. I don't know if I'll ever have a piece of milk chocolate again, like regular industrial milk chocolate. Totally unappealing to me.
Yeah.
Sleepwalk forever.
There you go. And, and I don't know that it's, I'm saying authentic, but I guess if it were authentic or it were traditional, it would truly have to be a drink because that was the original way that
Was the
cacao
drinking chocolate
was consumed.
Right. Are they putting it in bars for us Gringex folks?
Right. They are. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
So, I guess embrace the things you love and don't judge.
Yeah, and approach things outside of your community with a posture of curiosity.
Posture of curiosity.
Boom.
Okay. I'll catch you next episode, Linda.
Hasta pronto.
You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stressing capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening. Agave Road Trip out.